Hello and welcome to the eighth episode of E Says, P Says, your weekly dose of Black love. My name is Ellen, the E.
My name is Paul, the P. We decided to start this podcast to celebrate a milestone in our relationship. As of 4/22/25, we will be married for 36 years. Each week, we'll share a part of our relationship that got us to this milestone so you can see what tools or lack of tools are used to bring us this far and take us even further.
In this episode, I will interview my co host because he's done something marvelous. So, to introduce him, I will say not only have we been married for 36 years, we have two grown sons. Our eldest has followed in his father's footsteps and teaches. He's also married as well. Our youngest is in finance and dating a lovely young lady. As mentioned, Paul has been a teacher for over 20 years and he is a special educator. And today we discuss a project he has been working on for many, many, many years. As his wife and hype person, I couldn't be more proud. So without further ado, I welcome my husband, father, educator, past Fetty, and now. So Paul, what have you done? What are we adding to this impressive list?
Author.
Well, congratulations. I've been waiting for this moment since you graduated from college. LOL. I always thought I'd be an author's wife, but we can both attest that life was life and seriously after we said I do. How does it feel to be an author?
It feels really wonderful. Um, Very pleased, of course, with a lot of encouragement from you and some real determination. Uh, we were able to get it done.
That's good to hear. And what is your book or vignette about?
Actually, the book is really a series of snapshots of my life, and these snapshots are kind of loosely organized, uh, and really just talked about certain seminal moments that have occurred in my life. Um, and it's a short piece, but I consider it to be a very powerful piece, and a piece that really took me a long time to construct because of some of the um, events that occurred. So uh, I'm very happy that it's a project that has come to fruition.
All right. And what is the name of your book?
Vignettes from a South Central Sun, part one.
All righty. And I know as we discussed writing and your process, you said that writing can be difficult for you. I think I understand what you mean. However, I have the ability to disassociate when I'm writing certain things. So, can you explain that difficulty to me and others?
Well, I think that for me, writing is hard uh, because, uh, as you know, I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve, and a lot of people who know me know that about me. And so, of course, when you're writing, you're trudging up, past memories, not always so pleasant memories. So that's what makes it difficult for me. And so what it does, it kind of brings up all of those past things that have happened. So writing is definitely something that I do enjoy, but it can be a difficult process.
So maybe that's where we separate. A lot of my stuff is fiction. I don't have that personal connection like a nonfiction writer would.
Right.
So, what do you want people to get from reading your book?
Well, what I want people to get is really uh, if you have a dream, there's something that's possible. Uh, if you really want something, and you try to stay, what's that famous line? Keep your eye on the prize. it's something that can actually really happen. You can actually uh, get it done, but it's just important to stay consistent. I think consistency is key once you can kind of get really started and focused. I think that's why I had some difficulty. Um, so if there's one thing I would, a piece of advice I would give somebody, once you start, just don't stop. Just get it out. You can always go back later and edit or revise, but get those thoughts out, get them on paper.
And what do you think your parents would think about this book?
I think my parents would be, especially proud that here they have a son who came from uh, South Central, Los Angeles, um, not in the best of circumstances, but yet was able to, realize uh, one of his dreams. So I think they would be very proud.
That's good to hear. I know Mr. Mark would be overjoyed if he were here.
Yes.
He's one of those parents. Whatever his kids say, oh look, he's walking. Mhm.
He would be.
And as a child, what did you want to do?
It's actually I wanted to become a teacher when I grew up. Um, and of course, I was a basketball player, I was an athlete. And of course I had a lot of my friends, we had dreams of becoming, playing in the NBA and stuff like that. But I was kind of a strange bird, so to speak. I just actually wanted to be a teacher because a lot of teachers had, big influences on me growing up. So that was really one of my dreams to become a teacher.
Hmm.
And actually, even before that, you know, I want to talk about this piece a little bit because I applied to law school when I was in college. But what I probably should have done, I had an opportunity to go to Brown uh, and get a master's in teaching. I didn't take that because I was like, listen, I was my mind was on the wrong thing. My mind was on making money. And what I really should have had my mind focused on uh, was doing what the good Lord wanted me to do, which was to impact and influence young people. So, sometimes you can't go against what God wants you to do. And I ended up becoming a teacher anyway.
Yes, this is, and after all of the years that we've been together, this is the first time I have ever heard him say that he actually dreamt of becoming a teacher because he fought it tooth and nail, tooth and nail. The last thing he wanted to hear was teach.
And we have to be mindful too that during this time, uh, teachers really were not. People think it's bad now as far as what teacher salaries are, but even back then they were. So imagine back 30 years ago, what teacher
Yeah,
salaries were.
it was,
They were like
yeah.
paltry, comparatively speaking. So it was not something that I thought at that particular time was feasible financially for me to do.
And what is your favorite part of being a writer?
The solitude, quiet, uh, and just really there. This is the solitude of writing and the quiet
Hmm?
and trying to put thoughts together and sequences of events together. Because I'm more of a autobiographical writer, memoirs. I like to write those type of things.
Okay, and have you heard from your readers much?
Uh, yes, I have. I've heard from several of my readers.
And what kinds of things are they saying about
Well, a lot of them, first of all, are shocked when they read it because and then what they'll say, they say, "Oh my God, it makes me really know you a lot better." And and they'll say, "My goodness, I didn't know you could write that well," or I didn't know this happened to you or that happened to you. So a lot of them are, surprised.
And do you plan on writing any more books?
I do actually. I would like to do a part two of this current book, and currently I'm working on that.
Okay. And what does your family think of your writing?
You know, a lot of people in my family, the members who read it, were very impressed with it. They liked it a lot, and so I really felt encouraged. You know, because anytime you're writing something, you know, you're giving a part of yourself and you're sharing a part of yourself, and that's not something that's easy to do. And of course, you have like trepidation because you don't know how it's going to be received. So I was very, you know, pleased with some of the comments that I had gotten. So really very happy.
Oh, that's good to hear. I know our oldest son read it, and what did he say?
Melancholy, it's a little melancholy.
Oh, I'm not sure. Our because of distance, our youngest son was kind of in the editing previewing stage, so I don't think he's really sat down and read
Right.
the completed version.
Yeah.
And I don't think has he comment. I mean, he said it's good, but he hasn't really been like, "Oh, Dad,
Right.
this, and that." He's never really given any big compliments
Mhm.
about it
Yeah.
at this point. Maybe we'll ask him the next time we see him. And of course, there's me. I mean, I always knew you could do it.
Mm.
And thanks to the internet, the interwebs, I kept, holding that carrot out. It's like, thanks to new software. Oh, look at this cover. Oh, won't that be nice? Oh, look. And anybody that has written a book and tried to align it, you understand the pain and agony before they got some of these softwares together. So when I say many, many, many years, it's been many, many, many years. And what do you like to do when you're not?
Read. I'm a reader. I like reading. Uh, other authors. What's my favorite author? I read all the time.
It's James Patterson.
I like James Patterson books.
It's Alex Cross.
Yeah, it's Alex Cross series, so I really enjoy that.
All right. And what can you describe your writing space?
Now, that's an interesting question. My writing space can be any number of places. It can be in my car. It can be in the basement. I have like a little office in my basement. And actually, too, uh, in the park, uh, when it's not crowded, sitting on the bench. We have a park here where you have like, well, here they call them ducks, and they're like in the water. It's like a little lake, and I find that comforting for some reason. And usually I can write. I use my phone a lot of times, and I tell you, technology is a wonderful thing. And I can write a page or 2 pages um, in the park. So I find that a place. Then there are times where I can be in my bed and I'll have my phone and I can be sitting up and writing. So I write in any number of places. Sometimes I can be sleeping and thoughts will come to me. And I have a note section in my phone and I'll write notes in that section. So it's any number of places, any number of spaces. So in that way, I'm a little different than many writers, I think. You have some writers, they designate a certain place and a certain number of hours, and I'm not that way. You know, if I get uh, a kind of a feel, or I get kind of like motivated to start writing, I'll write anywhere. It doesn't make a difference, and I'll just start writing. So I'm a little different when it comes to that. Maybe I can improve in that area. Maybe I need to designate a certain space and a certain amount of time a day to writing.
Well, part of the reason I guess that you write like that is you also work. So
Yeah,
it's hard to designate a space
true.
when you're working. You're
Yeah,
just trying to catch your thoughts when you can.
it's true.
Another tool I showed him how to use was the speech to text.
Mm.
If you go into your phone, you can I'm not sure it was a voice memo app.
Yeah,
You can use that, or you can on we use Google Docs,
Yeah.
and you can talk
And I
into
use that at work too, the Google Docs.
you can talk into Google
Yeah.
Docs and put in stuff in there as well.
What I found interesting with the voice memo piece was being able to, cut and paste and put that in the Google Doc. And that has been extremely helpful. That's another part that I forgot to mention is using that voice memo piece. And then once you get it in the Google Doc, what I found, me and Ellen, we can just work on editing it together. And that piece has been it's a long piece, the edit portion, because you don't realize when you're speaking how much language or how many words are on that page once you start cutting and pasting. Oh my goodness, this is like 3 pages. So you do have to be mindful of that, you know.
And I'm not sure. I know that the vignettes is the first book
Mhm.
that we accomplished together.
Mhm.
Did you write anything else before that?
Well, that's an interesting question too. This whole writing uh, process started when I was in this program called the Maryland Writers Project, which was a part of the National Writers Project. And this was a program through Towson. At the time, I think it was Towson State University. Now it's, Towson University. And it was a program that I got into where you could get 6 credits, 6 credits. I was really just looking for credits, to be honest. I was trying to get credits and get my master's equivalency certification. But what ended up happening was we had to do these extensive uh, writing pieces. And so what I started doing was these like little short stories through this project. And that's really when this whole process started. It was over 10 years ago. And just adding on as the years went on and adding more short stories to it ended up becoming a book because I was just adding and adding and adding. But that program was a very intense program. It was all graduate. It was graduate level, and it was just right. We wrote every day, the whole like the. It began even before the summer in the spring, and then it went through the whole summer. And we went there like 4 days. We were there 4 days a week, and really it was very intense. But when you're writing like that, um, and you're sharing your writing, and you have people looking at your writing and helping you revise and edit. So it was a very intense process, but very worthwhile.
Yeah, I remember when you were doing that program, they published a booklet or something at the
Hmm.
end.
Hmm.
I don't know where that is now.
Right, me either. Well,
It's
we
because
it,
the kids were the kids were still home, so it's been
yeah.
at least 20 years.
What ended up happening was we ended up doing a big presentation at the end of the program. We had all these administrators come in, and we did like it was this huge presentation that we had done, and everybody kind of participated and submitted pieces uh, for this presentation. But it was a great experience, really was.
Yes, I can testify. He did enjoy it. And when did you first realize that you wanted to be a writer? Was it at that point or was it earlier?
When you think about that, I was an English major in college, but I never thought about becoming an actual writer, really. I had professors tell me that I could become a writer when I was in college. I had one professor by the name of Peter Cummings. He was a Shakespearean scholar who had graduated from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. He got a doctorate uh, uh, with a focus on Shakespearean works. And I remember I wrote a piece for him, and I went over this piece, and I think I had written it. It was on Shakespearean tragedies. Some of the tragedies. I think it was really talking about Othello. I think I had some stuff in there about King Lear, etc. And I need to find that piece. I think I do have a lot of the papers that I wrote in college, but he put on there a publishable quality,
Oh
and
wow.
I was, I think, a junior at the time, and he was a hard professor. He really was. But I was so proud of that piece because I knew he was stringent and he didn't give out, he did not give compliments out easily. I knew that. Another professor that I had was by the name of Grant Holly, and he was a Dixonian scholar, both, with, Dickens, and he had uh, books that we had to read. These books were like huge. Uh, and I mean, and we had to, it was an intensity in the course that was like unmatched because we had to do a lot of reading. Uh, and some of these novels, uh, they weren't like the familiar, like Great Expectations or uh, Oliver Twist. No, it was like, he had like, I think, I'm trying to remember, it was like Martin Chuzzlewit. And some of these books I hadn't heard from that written by the Bleak House. Uh, yeah, Martin Chuzzlewit, Bleak House. Now we did do the Christmas Carol, A Christmas Carol, and we also had a book in there called, and we did do Hard Times, but he didn't do the Tale of Two Cities, thank God. But it was a very challenging course and a lot of writing in that course as well. So I really enjoyed that. But one professor that I had who was not an English professor, her name was Carol George. She was a history professor, and her focus was on Southern history. And she was a tremendous scholar as well, and she really helped me with my writing. And then I also had another professor by the name of Gabriel Tariki, and he was a professor that taught a course called the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. And we had to do a lot of writing, a lot of reading, a lot of critical thinking course. And I think he also had an influence on me as far as, writing. So a lot of great influences.
Yes, I see. You had more fun in college than I did. Well, you had study fun. I had other fun. And how do you relax?
How do I relax?
Harass me. That's how
No,
relax.
no, I would say that.
Harassing me.
Walking, walking, speaking with my wife, watching the game, uh, going to the park, walking in the park. I enjoy that. Uh, go to the movies with me and my wife. Go out to dinner. We go to the movies. So not a lot of a huge amount of things, but there's certain things that do help me relax.
Okay. And what is your favorite book and why?
Now that's a loaded question
Mhm.
because I have so many books that I really love. But I have to say, I'm going to go. I think it's between Man Child in the Promised Land by Claude Brown and Up from Slavery by Booker T. Washington.
I
Those are my
never
two.
read Up from Slavery.
Yes.
Man Child, no, The Invisible Man is the one
Mhm.
I read. I got 10 pages left and I lost it.
That's a great book too.
And what books are you reading at present?
What am I reading right now? Um, Let me see. What am I reading? I think I'm looking at the Patterson books. Some of his titles.
Yeah, usually
James
he has
Patterson.
one by the bed.
Yeah.
Some Alex Cross book. I've lost track. I tried to give him one each Christmas. I've lost track. I don't know how many Alex Cross books.
Now I've been kind of like going through Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harry Beecher Stowe.
Only
I,
you.
yeah, I've looked at some of her stuff. I mean, read some of her stuff. Some poetry I've been reading by Sylvia Plath. A lot of people don't know her. I like her a lot. She, unfortunately, she did take her own life, but she was a tremendous talent. She was an American poet, and some people don't know her, but she kind of uh, she it's a type of poetry called confessional poetry. And she was like the person that really kind of brought that out to the fore. But she was a wonderful, wonderful talent. It's unfortunate that she passed away that she did pass. But Harriet Beecher, of course, Uncle Tom's Cabin, something I'm finding interesting. But you always hear this term about he's Uncle Tom and this and that. And really, people understood what that term meant. They would never use it in a disparaging way because, it's not what people think it doesn't mean what people think it means. So just to say that, I'll cut it right there.
And you mentioned Sylvia Plath,
Yeah.
and funnily, going to Catholic high school, I do believe that was one of our books. And I don't know why they would give that to like a 15, 16-year-old.
Yeah.
That woman was, I'm sorry to hear anyone unalive themselves.
Right.
But she was very sad. She was
Yeah.
very depressed. And you could tell from what she wrote.
Yes.
So I, leave it to Catholics.
One of her favorite Bell Jar is one of her most
Yeah,
famous.
that's the book that we
Yes,
read.
it's
No,
Bell Jar. Was that a novel, Bell Jar?
I believe it was a
Yeah.
novel, yeah, because it was,
I
yeah.
can't remember, but she was a tremendous talent. I can
Yeah.
say that. Let me see. Would you like to know why?
She was sad.
No, the Black Boy is one of my. I mean, not Black Boy, but Man Child is one of my favorite. I can tell you about both. Man Child and the Promised Land. Because that book by Claude Brown, that was set in the 40s and 50s in Harlem. So the thing about Claude Brown, he grew up in poverty. So a lot of times you're trying to look for personal connections when you're reading some of these things. So with him, I was like, wow. I remember when I first read it, and I was like, is he talking about me? I mean, because the book is set in in Harlem, and he was, I guess, in an impoverished part of Harlem. And he was surrounded by gangs.
Wow, I didn't even know there were gangs.
And I said, wow. And then I was so impressed with him. And the book is Nathan McCall's work. Make Me Want to Holler. It tries to kind of close to him. That book is set in Hampton, Virginia, and it's kind. You have to fast forward. I think that book was set in like the 80s or something, maybe 90s. But I mean, a lot of the same things that were going on in the 40s and 50s, particularly with young Black adolescent males, are going on today. So it was a very forward. I was like, did he have a crystal ball? So as I was reading that book, so his book, so it's autobiographical, and that's a genre that I do enjoy reading, and it just talks about him being around, in poverty and violence in Hall during the 40s. So I was kind of like drawn into it. That
I guess as you guys can see, not only is he a reader, he loves books. I can't remember if he doesn't bring it up. I don't remember who I was reading. And what do you think makes a good story?
I want to know.
So, like you're talking about Man Child in the Promised Land,
Right?
Like the background that takes place, and then the other was the Nathan McCall book that you're reading, and
even Up From Slavery. That's an autobiographical piece too, about Booker T. Washington, and it talks about. I like to see those. They call them Horatio Alger stories, where you come from nothing and then you go, and that's what I was looking for as a young person. As I needed to see, can I really get out of my condition? That's why books were so powerful for me. Writing, reading. Can I get out of my condition? Well, I needed examples of other people getting out of impoverished situations and becoming successful. So reading Up From Slavery was a similar moment in my life. I was a 10th grader in high school, and I read that, and I was getting into a little trouble in the class, not fighting and stuff, but just getting into a little, silly stuff going on. Not taking my education seriously. And then I read Booker T. Washington's Up from Slavery. And I'm reading it. And he was a slave. And here he is a slave, and he walks. He lived in a small rural farm community, poor black folk. And they knew he wanted to go to college. And all the people came together and gave him food, what little money they had. And he walked to Hampton University, his black college, to interview to get into college. No shoes, clothes torn, soiled. And he got there, and there was a woman there. He asked him what he wanted. He said, "Well, I'm here for the interview." He said, "What interview?" I want to apply to my interview for Hampton today. So she said, and she looked at him. He had no shoes, and disheveled look. And she said, "Okay, this is your interview. I need you to clean this room." So he said he cleaned the floor. He said, "Clean the floor. I need you to clean the floor, and I'll be back." He said he cleaned the floor no less than 15 times. When the woman got back, she could see her face in the wood. He said, "You've been accepted." So what that showed me, and then, of course, we know, I can fast forward that he was over, he ended up being over at the Tuskegee Institute. He was he was a power broker for black people. All of the money flowed through him. He was for economic independence. He was for vocational education because he said he didn't agree with W.B. Du Bois. Because W.B. Du Bois said, well, he believed in the talent of 10th, that top 10% of black people would raise the majority. And whereas T. Washington's argument was, he wanted as many black people as possible to be vocationally trained so they could have their own businesses. So that was his focus. What impressed me so much about him was that he came from nothing and then became a broker within a generation. So I was impressed. I was just enamored with him. And I said, if he could do that, I know I can fight my way, get my high school diploma, go to somebody's college. I didn't know anything about war at the time. And I should be able to go to somebody's college. And so, what books have done for me, they allowed me to do them. So that's why I think books are so powerful. Even a book like Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. When you look at what Pitt went through, these type of stories help me. So books have been an instrumental part of my life.
Well, I mean, as well as mine, but I believe even my books of choice. I mean, I did read some autobiographical ones like Maya Angelou. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And still to this day, if I see a good movie that comes from a book, I go get the book to read, because sometimes movies are good, but sometimes there's just things in a book that you can't translate to a movie.
That's true.
So
that's true, very true.
And our children are readers as well. Yes. So it comes in handy.
Yes, absolutely.
It comes in handy. And what was one of the most surprising things you learned in creating your book?
Very good. Excellent question. That's another good question too. You're a good interviewer. I think that how much I remember about past events. It was like almost I had like as I was writing, things were coming in my brain and going on the paper. That's what surprised me. And how raw some of those emotions were as I was writing. you know, there were times when I would write and I would be crying. I mean, as I'm writing, because I'm remembering certain things or certain events, particularly when I'm talking about my dad in the book. So that can be very raw when you describe it, and you're trying to use descriptive language, and so it can be a powerful thing. And then I know another thing too. That's the what surprised me is the type of how descriptive I was. You know, as I was talking about these events, you know, and these things that were happening. So that's what surprised me the most.
Mhm. And what might your next book be about?
Um, I have so many different things. Um, Still more kind of like a memoir genre
Okay.
piece, more different things that have occurred in my life. Probably longer than the first book.
Okay.
The part two will be longer. I'm thinking. I think my first little book was like 60 pages. Probably
Yeah.
this. I'm looking at this to be probably maybe 100 to 150, 150 pages. By the time I get everything done.
Okay.
Yeah.
All you editors out there calling all you editors. I can do 50 pages, but 150. I don't know what wife is going to do that. And I know you spoke a little about like making notes when you dream about something that you want to write. Do you
Yes.
get inspired by your dreams at
Yeah.
all?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Dreams are a strange. I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Dreams are a strange thing. Um, and my dreams, um, not always good dreams. Because they're dreams that about certain things that happen, some traumatic things that occurred. So that can be a difficult uh, thing to put on paper, to write about, or to transfer. I call it transference, where you're transferring those moments in your dreams and you're putting them either on paper or, you know, I'm putting it on my phone, you know, on a notepad that's on my iPhone. So that can be difficult, but yes, I do get inspiration from my dreams. You know, as far as with writing, when you're talking about inspiration, as far as writing, yes,
Okay. And I do believe you answered your favorite genre to read was autobiographies.
yes. Autobiography. I like autobiographies. I do like suspense as well because that's where I get the James Patterson piece from. But I think my most favorite is autobiographies.
Okay.
Another writer that I like too. That's where I got uh, the vignette um, kind of genre. You know, the way that the book is set up, the books are set up. Those little snapshots. It's from an author by the name of Sandra Cisneros, and
Didn't you have a manager with named Cisneros?
um, what what you mean?
Wasn't that? Didn't you have a manager at some point?
That I work with?
Yeah. That name sounds familiar.
Yeah, but with that, I may have with her for me that I like that she wrote was called the House on Mango Street. That's a great book. It was a series of vignettes. That's where I got that from her.
Okay.
So I can't take credit for the way the novel was set up. Just the way she had these little vignettes, these little stories. And I like the way she had it set up. I like the stories. You know, she's a Mexican American, grew up in Chicago, born and raised in Chicago. And she's a Chicagoan and very talented. Um, she's 70 years old now.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I love her. She's won the PEN Award. So she's a tremendous talent, tremendous writer. I take a lot, you know, I love her work. Mhm.
And then that you said the next one is who's your favorite author and what is it that really strikes you about their work? Was that Cisneros?
I
Or
wouldn't call
someone
her
else?
my favorite author. She's in the top 5,
Okay.
no doubt about that. Probably my favorite writer, even though, and this is a tough one too for me. Hmm. I would have to say Richard Wright.
Okay.
I know people would say, "Well, if Richard Wright's your favorite author, why isn't Black Boy or Invisible Man a part of your favorite, books or whatever?" He's in the top 5, but he's my favorite writer though.
Okay.
Black Boy,
Yeah.
the reason is Black Boy is that book is in the top 5 for me, but it's painful for me to read it. Does
Is
that make
that
sense?
yes? Is that the one that Oprah made a movie of the week kind of thing for? Was it Black Boy or was it another one? Because
I'm
I
not.
know there's several Richard Wright books.
I'm not sure. What made this book kind of painful? There's a part in the book where he gets punished by an older relative for writing a story that he wrote in school. And then there's also another part of the book where he's punished for getting books from the library. So it's a he did a lot of racism, it was set in the South. So it's just a tough book for me to get through. But he's still a tremendous, of course, he wrote a native son, and this made this tremendous, tremendous. But I would say he's probably up there. It's hard for me to say I had a favorite, but if I had to pick one, if I was forced to pick somebody, it would have to be Richard Rush. And then, another writer I haven't spoken much about. He wrote The Devil in the Blue Dress. Um,
That's Mosby, Walter Mosley or Mosby.
hold on, and I think it's and he wrote those. It's Walter Mosley, but he wrote those Easy Rollins, books, and he was tremendous talent too. So he's written several books too, and I like him as well.
And correction, it's Native Son
Native Son.
that Oprah did more story for. And how do you get inspired to write?
How do I get? Sometimes I get inspired by this what I see when I'm walking around.
Okay.
It's funny when I see other people doing certain things. I get inspired. Oh my goodness, he's written like, my God.
And how do you handle moments where inspiration seems hard to find?
Reading, read, start reading.
Okay.
Sometimes I get ideas when I'm reading too, reading other authors.
Okay. And can you tell us about a book or author that has greatly inspired your own work? Would that be Richard Wright as well?
I would say Sandra Cisneros. She has, because of the way her books she organizes that. I like the way. Let me say this too. Sandra Cisneros definitely influenced me a lot. That book that she wrote. But another, but another, of course, that house on Mango Street. But let me just say this too. There are short stories
Mm-hmm.
that I've read that have influenced me too.
Okay.
Uh, there used to be you can get like free short stories, right?
Only you and find
Yeah,
free
and
short
so you can
stories.
get like you could just type in and just get these stories, and what they are, they're like really heavy hitting, powerful short stories. They have books with short stories in them. They're very good. So short stories are very good. They're very helpful. They can kind of get you jump started.
Okay. And Can you tell us about a book or author that greatly, I think you hit Cisneros. That was your,
Mm-hmm.
what is the most inspiring feedback you've ever received from a reader?
I would have to say one of my colleagues at work. Uh, her name is Darla Smith, and she gave me so many kind words. And then what really impressed me is when she said her father read the book
Oh,
and
wow.
how impressed he was with it. And she was one of the first people to buy my book.
Okay.
Her and another friend of mine by the name of Benjamin, and two of my colleagues at work were the first two people to buy my book, actually bought it. So I really, I want to give a shout out to them for their support. And then I also have a friend by the name of Stephen LeDuc. And one more, and he always supports me. He was, when I got sick, he was there for me. And then Ms. Trussell as well.
Okay.
These are all people kind of like supporting me at work for buying my books, and they have really kind things to say. And that's huge for somebody that's a first time author to get that kind of encouragement. So I want to thank them too.
That's good to hear.
Let me say, it's another person too. Right now, her name escapes me, but she was my co-teacher last year in the English class, and I shared with her just not just my book, but some other pieces I've been working on, and she was very. When I remember, I kind of remember, I'm kind of cloudy right now,
Okay.
but she was very encouraging as well.
And lastly, how has your concept of inspiration evolved throughout your writing career?
How has it evolved?
Evolved.
Evolved. Well, let me just say this. I learned that you can get inspiration from anywhere. You can get it from a movie. You can get it from going to the grocery store. You can get it from uh, hanging out with your friends, going to a park. You can get it almost anywhere. Inspiration. And one thing I did learn is important, maybe sometimes too. And this is good. This is a good experience tonight. What we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing I learned, I should just have like a little notebook, a little notebook with me as I'm going out, so I can write things down. I know it might look strange to some people, but I think that might be a good idea to do that.
That's different.
I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, but then I don't want to forget the things that are inspiring me too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I need to put some notes, or maybe to use my phone more.
Yeah.
So this has been like an enlightenment too tonight.
Yeah.
You always learn something. And so maybe I can use the phone more when I'm out instead of just, because I do use it when I'm writing, but sometimes just to use it when I want to make notes and I see something. And, now that might be more something that I should do. People won't feel more. They used to people having their phones out.
Yeah, that's
So,
true. And if you're
yeah.
typing, you could be responding to a text.
Right.
You could be responding to an email. You're not necessarily
Right.
talking about that particular group of people or person that you're looking at.
Yeah.
So that might be a good way to
True.
get your
that's a good
your thoughts
right,
down.
right.
And that's wonderful, because when we came up, or even some of the writers that we read,
Mm-hmm.
they have a process, like you said, and that's
Right.
the process that they use. Some go away, some get a hotel room, some have a cabin, some have a space in their house that's specific to writing. And sometimes, they may go outside and kind of take that in,
Mm-hmm.
but you're one of the rare writers that's taking in stuff from everywhere.
Yeah.
A lot of times you don't hear writers, they have one or two spots.
Right.
They don't have.
Yes.
Or
I know I'm strange.
Yeah. Or maybe they take all that in and then they bring it to their special place.
Mm-hmm.
They've never explained it that way.
Yeah.
If they're doing that. All right, and Mr. Mock, Mr. Paul, Is there anything else you would like our listeners to know about your book?
Well, what I want them to know that it's coming. The second book is coming. Give me some time to get it all together. Of course, if anybody who knows me, I want to make sure that it's something that everybody's going to enjoy. So I'm still working on some pieces. And then we have some editing and some revision to do, myself and my wife, Ellen. So look forward to come out shortly.
Yes, and we're working on a couple of group projects, stuff that we're working on together.
Right.
So we got some things coming between the two of us.
And we have more podcasts coming. We'll go into some more detail later as to why we had such an hiatus. And we will share that at a later date.
Okay, and you can find his book on Amazon, and it's Vignettes from South Central Sun, Part 1 by Paul G. Mott.
I thank you all for your support, as always. Shout out to everyone who took a few moments out of their day to listen. We hope that anything you heard was helpful.
And is there someone or some cause in your life that has gone beyond your expectations or given you more than expected? Well, why don't you show your appreciation by giving your time, talent, or funds to them? And please feel free to share who or whom you appreciate. It feels good to say thanks. Or you can send a note or leave one on our social media platforms to thank someone you know working hard at whatever it is that they do that is making lasting change in their field or world. You can also check out our website, mockmediagroup.com, where you can listen and learn about all things happening with the Mocks. Want to do more? Support us by filling our cup at buymeacoffee.com/mockmediagroup, or subscribe to our podcast on any podcast platform so you don't miss an episode.
Thanks for joining us this week on He Says, P Says, your weekly dose of Black love. Check us out on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Mock Media Group or He Says, P Says. And make sure you subscribe to our podcast on your preferred platforms so that you don't miss any of our episodes. And feel free to leave any questions or comments on one of our social media platforms. See you next week.
1,